People always say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. Mine almost turned into the day I died. And it all started with a knock on my door at 2:17 a.m. When I opened it, my future mother-in-law stood there, barefoot, shaking, mascara running down her cheeks like she'd been crying for hours. He grabbed my wrist so hard I dropped my phone. "Janelle," she whispered, eyes wide with terror. "You can't marry my son. If you do, he will destroy you." I laughed at first, because what else do you do when a woman who's always hated you shows up in the middle of the night with a warning that sounds like a curse? But she didn't laugh back. She stepped inside, slammed the door behind her, and pressed her trembling hand against my mouth. "Don't make a sound," she whispered, voice breaking. "He might hear you." A chill tore down my spine. The man she was afraid of, the man she was warning me about, was the same man asleep in my bedroom just down the hall. My fiancé. The love of my life. The man I thought I knew better than anyone. And standing there in my dark living room with my future mother-in-law's fingers digging into my skin, one horrible thought lit up in my mind like lightning. What if she wasn't warning me out of hate, but out of fear? The question hit me so hard I forgot how to breathe. I stared at her, this woman who'd criticized my hair, my clothes, my cooking, the way I said hello, now trembling like a leaf trapped in a storm. "Sit," she whispered sharply, pushing me toward the couch. I didn't move at first. My back pressed against the wall like I needed something solid behind me. I kept glancing down the hallway toward the bedroom where Jordan slept, completely unaware that his mother was in my living room begging me to call off the wedding. She followed my eyes and grabbed my face between her palms. "Don't wake him." Her voice cracked. "You don't know what he'll do if he knows I'm here." I swallowed hard. I didn't recognize her. Not this version. Not this desperate, broken woman who looked like she'd aged 10 years in a single night. "Tell me what's going on," I demanded, but my voice came out thin, shaky. She shook her head, tears clinging to her lashes. "I shouldn't even be here. It's too dangerous. For both of us." "Dangerous?" I whispered. She squeezed her eyes shut like the word itself hurt her. When she opened them, fear widened them again. "You love him, I know," she said softly. "But love is not enough to survive what he becomes." A cold shiver crept down my arms. "What he becomes," I repeated. She lowered her voice to a trembling whisper. "You haven't seen the real him yet. But you will. And when you do, it'll be too late." I stared at her in disbelief. Jordan wasn't perfect, sure. He had his moods. He shut down sometimes. He got distant when stressed. But he never laid a hand on me. Never yelled. Never even raised his voice. He was patient. Thoughtful. Proactive. At least, thought he was. "Why now?" I asked. "Why one day before the wedding?" Her eyes glistened with tears. "Because if I wait until tomorrow, you'll be bound to him. And once you're legally tied to him, it's harder to escape." The word snapped something inside me. I straightened, heat rising in my throat. "Mrs. Carter, I think you're overreacting." "Did he tell you about his father?" she cut in sharply. The question punched the breath right out of me. Jordan never talked about his father. The few times I asked, he'd stiffen, change the subject, or kiss my forehead and say, "I just don't want to ruin the mood." My future mother-in-law sank onto the couch like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. "What do you think happened to him?" she asked. "He left," I said quietly. "That's what Jordan told me." She shook her head with a broken, humorless laugh. "He didn't leave." She lifted her eyes to mine. "He had to be removed." My stomach clenched. "Removed by who?" "The police." Her silence answered for her. "No," I whispered. No, Mrs. Carter, you're scaring me." "You should be scared," she snapped suddenly, hands balling into fists. "I'm trying to save your life." I jumped at the volume of her voice, terrified Jordan might wake up. Her face crumpled and she lowered her head, whispering so low I barely heard her. "You're such a good woman, Janelle. Sweet. Innocent. You don't understand what you're marrying into." Anger rose in me then, not because of her warning but because of the implication that I was weak, naive, too blind to see danger even if it slapped me. "I know who I'm marrying," I said quietly. "I know him. Jordan's." A loud thump came from down the hallway. We both froze. My heart jumped into my throat. Her fingers dug into my wrist. Footsteps. Slow. Soft. Coming closer. "Oh God," she mouthed. "Hide me." "What?" I whispered harshly. "Why would I hide you?" But her panic was contagious. She grabbed my arm, yanking me toward the kitchen pantry. "In here," she hissed. "Quickly." I didn't move. The footsteps were getting louder. She flung the pantry door open and practically shoved me inside with her, closing it just a crack so we could see out. A moment later, Jordan stepped into the living room, shirtless, sleepy, running a hand through his messy hair. Cute, normal, confused, adorable even. "Babe," he called softly. "You okay? I woke up and you weren't there." His voice was warm. Everything I knew. I opened my mouth to answer, but his mother gripped my hand so tight I winced. Jordan glanced around the apartment. His brows furrowed slightly. He looked toward the door, then toward the hallway, then toward the pantry. His eyes lingered. My breath caught. He didn't move for a moment. Just stared at the pantry door like he sensed something. Then he sighed and rubbed his eyes. "Probably just overthinking," he mumbled. He turned around and headed back toward the bedroom, his footsteps soft but heavy with exhaustion. We stayed in the pantry long after his door closed. Mrs. Carter slowly released my hand. In the dim light, I saw her lips trembling. "You see," she whispered. "Even when he's calm, he feels danger. He senses it. He learned it from his father." I shook my head in disbelief. "This is insane," I whispered back. "Mrs. Carter, you can't expect me to judge him based on some feeling. You haven't seen it yet," she said with a hollow voice. "But you will. His father was the same. Sweet. Loving. Perfect." He swallowed. "Until the day he snapped." "Snapped." I echoed. She nodded, eyes filling with fresh tears. "The first time he hit me it was because I accidentally spilled coffee on him." She touched her lower lip. "The last time he hit me, it nearly killed me." I felt a strange mix of sympathy and disbelief. If she'd suffered that, I understood her trauma. But Jordan didn't have it in him. At least that's what I kept telling myself. "And Jordan," I whispered. "Has he ever?" She shook her head quickly. "Not yet. But it doesn't happen until after marriage. That's how it starts. You become his possession. His property. His pressure valve." I pressed a hand to my forehead, my heart pounding. "This is a lot," I whispered. "I can't just cancel a wedding based on a mother's warning," she finished for me, her voice cracking. "Janelle, how many mothers beg their future daughter-in-law to run? To save themselves? To leave their son?" She took my hands in hers. Her grip wasn't strong, just desperate. "I'm not doing this because I hate you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm doing it because you remind me of myself. I was you once, full of hope, in love with a man I didn't truly know." This time she didn't cry softly. She broke. Her shoulders shook violently and she covered her face, sobbing into her palms. I didn't know what to do. Comfort her? Kick her out? Believe her? Ignore her? When she finally looked at me again, her eyes were completely stripped of makeup, stripped of pride, just raw fear. "Janelle," she whispered. "If you marry my son, you won't survive him." The words tasted like metal in my mouth. "Leave before it's too late." I opened my mouth to respond, but the bedroom door opened again. This time, Jordan wasn't sleepy. He wasn't confused. He wasn't shirtless and relaxed. He was fully dressed. And his eyes weren't gentle anymore. They were sharp. Cold. Dangerous. "Mom," he said quietly, calmly, like he'd always known she was here. "You really shouldn't have come." Her breath hitched. I felt her fingers tighten around mine again. "Jordan," she whispered. "Please, don't." He stepped closer. And the closer he came, the more I saw something new in him. Something dark. Something his mother had seen long before I ever met him. "You didn't tell her the whole story," he said to his mother. "Did you?" Her lips trembled. "I told her enough." "No," he said softly. "You told her what you wanted her to hear." He looked at me. And for the first time since I met him, I wasn't sure who I was looking at. "What exactly did my mother tell you tonight?" His voice was too calm. Too measured. Like a man walking around a dangerous truth. "She said you change after marriage," I said quietly, breath shaking. "That you become like your father." A small smile spread across his face. Not warm. Not amused. but the kind of smile that hid a warning underneath. "Hi, father," he whispered. "Is that what she told you?" His mother grabbed my arm again. "Janelle, don't engage." "Let her answer," Jordan said, still staring at me. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my teeth. "She said your father hurt her," I whispered. "That he was dangerous." Jordan's smile widened just a little. "That part is true." His mother inhaled sharply. "But she left something out," he continued, taking one step closer. Mrs. Carter's voice broke. "Jordan, don't do this." He ignored her. "Do you want to know what she didn't mention, Janelle?" he asked softly. I didn't answer. I couldn't. He stepped close enough that I could feel his breath on my cheek. "She didn't tell you," he whispered, "that she wasn't the only one he hurt." Her mother's body crumpled beside me. "No," she whispered, falling to her knees. "Please, Jordan, no, don't tell her." But he was already looking straight into my eyes. "My father didn't leave," he said in a calm, deadly voice. "I killed him." For a moment the entire world seemed to freeze. No sound. No breath. No movement. Just Jordan's words hanging in the air like smoke. "I killed him." I didn't react at first. My mind refused to process it. This was the man I was supposed to marry in less than 12 hours. The man who bought me roses every Friday. The man who held my hand when my father died. The man who promised he would never hurt me. The man who now stood inches away telling me he killed his own father. His mother collapsed fully onto the floor, sobbing into her hands, her shoulders shaking violently. "Why would you say that?" she sobbed. "Why would you tell her the one thing you promised me you'd never say?" Jordan didn't even look at her. "Because she deserves the truth," he said calmly. "If she's going to be my wife, she deserves to know what I'm capable of." The words didn't sound like reassurance. They sounded like a warning. My throat tightened so hard I couldn't speak. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. "Jordan," I finally managed, voice barely a breath. "What are you talking about?" He stepped toward me, slow, deliberate, like he wanted to measure every reaction I had. "My father wasn't a good man," he said. "He hurt my mother. He hurt me. He hurt everyone in that house." Mrs. Carter whimpered on the floor, covering her ears. "Stop it, Jordan. You don't have to relive this. Please." He ignored her again. "I was 13, he said. 13 when I realized he was never going to stop." Another step closer. "I thought if I got big enough, strong enough, fast enough." He shrugged. "But the thing about men like him? They don't fear anyone. Not even their own children." He was only a foot away from me now. And one night, I snapped. He wasn't emotional. Not ashamed. Not angry. Just factual. "Mom was on the kitchen floor," he continued. "Barely breathing. I thought she was dead." I glanced down at his mother, but she had her head buried so deeply in her palms I couldn't see her face. "He stood over her," Jordan said softly, laughing, like she deserved it. A chill crawled up my spine. I told him to stop. He didn't even look at me. His voice lowered. So I grabbed the closest thing I could find. My chest tightened. "Please." "A cast iron skillet," he finished. "Heavy. Thought. My mom's favorite one." His mother let out a broken cry. And I saw it then, the pain etched deep into both of them. Two people tied together by trauma so thick it suffocated the room. But trauma doesn't erase danger. And the way Jordan told the story, coldly, calmly, like reciting a grocery list, made something deep inside me shiver. You were a child," I whispered. "You didn't mean to." "Oh, I meant it," he said simply. My heart lurched. "Don't try to soften it," he added. I hit him. Hard. More than once. And when he went down, I kept going. His mother sobbed harder, whispering, "Stop, stop, stop." Jordan exhaled slowly. "He died before the ambulance even arrived." I covered my mouth, shaking. "They called it self-defense," he continued. "A tragic accident in a violent home. Everyone believed it. Even the police." He leaned his head slightly, studying my expression. "I didn't kill him because I lost control," he said. "I killed him because someone had to." My pulse hammered against my ribs like it wanted to break out. "Do you understand?" he whispered. The softness in his tone terrified me more than if he had screamed. "I protect the people I love. No matter what it costs. Mrs. Carter forced herself up to her knees, clinging to the couch for support. Janelle, she choked out, this is what I meant. This is why you have to run. He loves too hard. Protects too hard. When he feels threatened, he becomes his father. Jordan turned to her, his jaw tightening. That's not true. Yes, it is, she sobbed. Why do you think I came here tonight? Why do you think I never remarried? Why do you think I've lived my whole life trying not to upset you? Silence sliced through the room. Jordan stared at her like she'd slapped him. You think I'm like him? He whispered. She flinched. He stepped toward her. Mom. She held up her hands. Jordan, please. Do you think, he repeated, voice trembling now, that I would ever hurt you? You already have, she whispered. His face went still. What? She looked him dead in the eyes, tears streaking down her face. Every time you get angry, every time you shut down, every time something scares you and you lock yourself in that room, I see him. Jordan's shoulders stiffened, his expression dropping into something I didn't recognize. You think I'm a monster, he said quietly. No, she breathed. I think you're dangerous. And I don't want her, she pointed at me, to end up the same way I did. Jordan closed his eyes for one long, painful moment. And when he opened them, something was gone. Something soft. Something human. Janelle, he said, turning toward me. Do you think I would hurt you? The question nearly turned my stomach inside out. I opened my mouth. But no words came out. I didn't know. I didn't know anymore. He watched my silence slowly, painfully, and something in his expression cracked like glass under pressure. You're scared of me, he whispered. I felt myself shaking, unable to deny it. His jaw clenched. My own fiancé, he said, voice breaking into something darker. Scared of me. He stepped closer. I backed up immediately. He stopped mid-step, staring at my movement like it physically wounded him. His voice dropped to a low, dangerous whisper. You think you know me? You think she knows me? He pointed at his mother without looking at her. But neither of you knows what I've survived. What I've done to keep the people I love safe. Mrs. Carter's voice was barely audible. Jordan, please stop. He didn't. He looked at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. You want to know the real reason she doesn't want you to marry me? My breath hitched. It's not because she's afraid I'll hurt you. His lips curled into something cold. It's because she's afraid I'll lose you. I felt the blood drain from my face. She knows what I become when I lose someone I love, he said. She knows what happened after my father died. His mother clapped a hand over her mouth, shaking violently. Jordan, stop, she doesn't need to. But he just kept staring at me. She knows I don't handle loss well, he whispered. She knows I don't let go easily. My chest tightened so sharply I thought I might pass out. Janelle, he continued, stepping just close enough that the air between us thinned. If you say you don't want to marry me, I'll walk away. I swear I will. My breath caught. But if you lie to me... His voice dropped even lower. If you tell me you love me just to disappear tomorrow... His eyes hardened into something I had never seen in them before. I will find you. His mother let out a strangled sob. I stumbled back, heart slamming so loud I could barely hear anything else. Jordan watched me, breathing slowly, watching every flicker of fear cross my face. You're scared of me, he whispered again. But I would burn the world for you. I swallowed hard, unable to look away from him. And that's the problem, his mother whispered behind me. That's exactly the problem. For a long moment no one spoke. Jordan stood in front of me, breathing slowly, eyes flicking between my face and his mother's. His chest rose and fell with tight, controlled movements, like he was holding something dangerous inside and fighting to keep it from escaping. His mother stayed kneeling on the floor, trembling so hard the couch cushions quivered behind her. Me. I felt like the ground under my feet had turned to water. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I couldn't look away from him. Janelle, he said quietly, like speaking too loudly might shatter the room. I'm not my father. But his voice sounded so much like someone trying to convince themselves of something they already knew wasn't true. I swallowed hard. I'm not saying you are, I just... You're scared, he interrupted softly. I'm confused, I whispered. He tilted his head, studying me as if confusion and fear looked exactly the same. And maybe to him they did. You love me, he said, almost pleading. Don't you? My throat tightened. This was the moment I needed to say something soothing. Something calming. Something that wouldn't spark whatever darkness his mother feared lived inside him. But the truth stuck like a stone in my mouth. Jordan, I whispered, I don't know what to think right now. His jaw clenched. Heart. His mother let out a small, panicked gasp. Jordan, breathe, she whispered. Just breathe. He didn't. Not at first. He curled his hands into fists, knuckles whitening. His eyes flicked to the pantry where we'd hidden. Then to the hallway. Then to the window. Assessing. Calculating. It was the same look I'd seen once before. Months ago, when a stranger bumped into me on the street and nearly made me fall. Jordan hadn't spoken. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't touched the man. But he didn't blink for almost 30 seconds. Just stared at him like he was deciding how much damage he could do if he lost control. I thought it was protectiveness back then. Well, I wasn't so sure. Jordan, I said softly, trying to steady my voice. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. I just need time to understand all of this. He blinked once. Fully. Then he exhaled long and deep, like he was pulling himself back from a ledge. Okay, he whispered. Time. I can give you that. His mother sagged with relief. But the way he said it, the softness, the sweetness, the too calm tone, it felt less like a promise, and more like a warning. He stepped back slightly, looking around the apartment again. Then his eyes landed on the clock. Your hair appointment is at 9, he said softly. You'll be late if you don't sleep. I stared at him. How could he be thinking about wedding schedules right now? He walked toward the bedroom doorway, pausing only once to look over his shoulder. Come to bed when you're ready, he said quietly. I'll keep the light on. Then he disappeared down the hallway. The second he was gone, his mother grabbed my shoulders with both hands, shaking. Oh, Janelle, her voice broke. You have to leave. You have to. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Her breaths came fast and shallow. You saw it, didn't you? You saw the shift in him. That's what he does. It starts small. Look. Tone. Pause. Then it grows. I pulled away gently. Mrs. Carter, he didn't get violent. He didn't yell. He didn't touch me. He doesn't have to, she cried. Not at first. She wiped her face with trembling hands. Please. You have to understand something. Loving Jordan is dangerous. Leaving him. He swallowed. Leaving him is worse. My stomach twisted. You said he doesn't handle loss well, I whispered. But that doesn't mean. It means exactly what you think it means, she said firmly. I leaned against the wall, my knees weak. Everything was spiraling. Everything was unraveling. And tomorrow I was supposed to stand in front of friends and family and promise forever to this man. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Her voice softened, trembling with fear. You walk away. While you still can. The room felt colder suddenly. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, startling both of us. One new message. From Jordan. I love you. Always. 3 words. Simple. Sweet. But after everything that had just happened, they sent a chill down my spine. His mother closed her eyes. He's watching his phone, she whispered. He's checking if you respond. Don't. Please don't. Everything inside me was splitting in two. I need to think, I whispered. I need air. Mrs. Carter shook her head. Air is not what you need. A plan is what you need. I rubbed my forehead. I can't just leave. He's in the other room. You won't get another chance, she whispered. You heard him. He doesn't let go easily. He never has. I closed my eyes, fighting tears. I love him, I said softly. She looked at me with heartbreaking sadness. That's why he chose you. What is that supposed to mean? She stepped back, wiping her face. Jordan doesn't fall in love with women. He attaches to them. Consumes them. Makes them the center of his world. She looked toward the bedroom, voice dropping lower. And a man who makes someone their whole world doesn't know how to survive when that world walks away. A cold realization crawled across my skin. How many girlfriends has he had? I whispered. She closed her eyes. I warned them too, she said. A heavy silence filled the room. What happened to them? I asked quietly. She looked at me with hollow eyes. None of them stayed. My breath caught. But none of them could leave. My skin prickled. What do you mean? Her voice cracked. They didn't leave him emotionally, Janelle. A tear rolled down her cheek. They left him physically. My blood ran cold. What happened to them, Mrs. Carter? She opened her mouth. But before she could answer, the bedroom door opened again. And Jordan stepped out. Fully awake. Fully composed. Fully listening. His eyes swept the room. And when they landed on me, they were no longer confused, or hurt, or calm. They were calculating. "I love," he said softly. "Why are you crying?" I didn't even realize tears were dripping down my face until he said it. His mother stepped between us instinctively. "Jordan, listen. Move," he said quietly. Not loud. Not aggressive. Quiet. Too quiet. She backed away immediately. Not because he yelled, but because she recognized that tone. He walked up to me, cupping my cheek in his hand. "You look scared," he whispered. His thumb brushed a tear from my skin. "Did she upset you?" I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. "Janelle," he murmured, "who are you going to believe? My mother, or me?" His eyes searched mine. I felt trapped. "And, Saeed, tell me the truth," he whispered, leaning his forehead against mine. "Are you thinking about leaving me?" I didn't answer. I couldn't lie. I couldn't tell the truth. And Jordan could sense it. His body stiffened. His jaw tightened. His breath paused. And in that stillness, in that silence, in that tiny moment of truth, something changed. Something shifted. Something broke. Slowly he pulled away from me, his expression unreadable. Then he turned to his mother. "You did this," he whispered. She flinched. "You filled her head with fear. You made her doubt me. Jordan, please." He stepped toward her. And for the first time that night, I saw real fear. In her eyes. "Jordan," I said, my voice barely audible. "Stop." He turned to me again. This time he smiled. But the smile didn't reach his eyes. "You're right," he said gently. "I'm too worked up." He walked to the door and grabbed his keys. His voice was soft. Almost loving. "I'm going out for a drive," he said. "Clear my head." He opened the door. Before leaving, he looked at me one last time. "Don't go anywhere," he said softly. "I'll be right back." And the door closed behind him. The second it clicked shut, his mother collapsed into a chair, shaking violently. "Janelle," she whispered, voice trembling. "You need to run." The second the door closed behind Jordan, silence slammed into the room so hard it felt deafening. His mother stared at the door like she expected it to burst open again at any moment. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. "He's gone," I whispered, though I wasn't even sure I believed it. She clutched my arm. "Not for long. And he's not gone to calm down, he's gone to think. To decide." "Decide what?" I asked, my voice barely a sound. She shook her head, tears sliding down her cheeks. "He's planning. He always plans when he feels threatened." A tremor went through my whole body. I sank into the couch because my legs couldn't hold me up anymore. My heart was pounding in my ears, my throat tight, my palms cold enough to sting. "I can't just leave," I whispered. "I can't run out into the night like some fugitive." "You're not a fugitive," she said firmly. "You're a woman in danger." I pressed my shaking hands to my face. "He hasn't hurt me. Yet," she whispered. "He hasn't hurt you yet." That word echoed through the room like a ghost. Yet. A promise in the wrong direction. "I need to think," I whispered. He grabbed my hands. "No. Thinking is what he's counting on. Thinking slows you down. Thinking keeps you here long enough for him to come back." Panic clawed at my throat. But where would I even go? It's almost 4 a.m. "I'll take you," she said quickly. "Right now. We'll go to a hotel. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he won't think to look." I shook my head. "But the wedding." "There is no wedding," she snapped. "Not if you want to survive long enough to see next week." Her words felt like a punch to my ribs. "I'm not trying to scare you," she said, softer now. "I'm telling you the truth. If you stay, everything you love about him will be the same things that trap you." I stared at the floor, my thoughts spinning like a tornado. The first time Jordan ever said he loved me, it was with a kind of trembling sincerity that made me melt. Now I was terrified of what that love meant. I forced myself to stand, holding onto the wall for support. "My purse," I whispered. "I need my purse." "Where is it?" "In the bedroom." Her face went white. "You can't go in there." "I need my keys." "No," she said quickly. "We use my car. Leave everything. We'll buy what we need later." I hesitated. "My phone." "Janelle," she whispered, stepping closer, "if he tracks your phone, he will find you." A cold wave washed through me. She reached for my hand. "Please. There's no time." I grabbed her wrist. "Wait." The truth hit me all at once, hard and sharp. If I left now, if I ran, Jordan would come home to an empty apartment. And the first person he'd blame was standing right in front of me. "He'll hurt you," I whispered. She closed her eyes. "That's not your responsibility." "Like hell it's not," I said, my voice cracking. "He's your son. And that's exactly why he'll never stop," she whispered. "You're the one in danger now, not me." But I could hear the lie in her voice. She was scared. More scared than she wanted me to know. I grabbed her shoulders. "Come with me." Her eyes widened. "What?" "You heard me. Come with me. We both leave." Fear etched itself across her face. "No. If I go with you, he'll see it as betrayal. He'll come for me." "And if you stay?" I asked quietly. "Will he forgive you?" She swallowed hard. We both knew the truth. Leaving together was the only real chance. She nodded slowly. "Hey, but we have to go now." We hurried toward the door, grabbing nothing but our coats. My hands trembled so badly I could barely turn the lock. I cracked the door open and froze. Jordan's car was still parked in the driveway. Mrs. Carter gasped. "He didn't leave." My heart stopped. Cold fear surged through me so fast I nearly doubled over. We crept back inside and closed the door silently. "Why would he pretend to leave?" I whispered. Her voice trembled. "'Cause he knows you. He knows how your mind works. He knows you want to run. He's waiting to see if you try." The walls felt like they were closing in. I stepped back from the door and pressed a hand to my chest, trying to slow my breathing. But every inhale felt like knives. "What do we do?" I whispered. "We wait," she said. "Until sunrise. He won't stay outside forever." But he was Jordan. And Jordan didn't give up easily. She walked quietly to the window and peeked through the side of the curtain. She sucked in a sharp breath. "What?" I whispered urgently. Her eyes went wide. "He's standing by the car." My stomach flipped. "What is he doing?" She swallowed hard. "He's just standing there, looking up at the apartment." A chill pierced straight through my spine. I moved next to her and peeked out through a sliver of the curtain. There he was. So silent, moving, like a shadow carved from the night. His hands were in his pockets. His head tilted slightly. His eyes locked right on our window. "He knows," I whispered. She nodded, her face pale. "Yes, he knows." I stumbled back from the window, breathing hard. "Okay," I said, voice shaking. "We need to barricade the door. Something. Anything." "That won't stop him," she whispered. "If he wants to come in, he will." "And we just stand here?" I snapped. "Doing nothing?" She closed her eyes. "We don't trigger him. Not until we know what he plans to do." I wiped my eyes, shaking so hard I could barely stay upright. Time passed painfully slow. Minutes stretched into an hour. Then another. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow looked like him. When sunlight finally touched the walls, I let out a shaking breath. Maybe he'd left. Maybe he'd. A hard knock rattled the door. We both froze. 3 slow knocks. Deliberate. Measured. Terror shot through every limb. "Janelle." Jordan's voice floated through the door. Calm, steady, emotionless. "I need to talk to you." Mrs. Carter gripped my arm so tight her nails dug into my skin. "Don't answer him," she whispered. Another knock. Harder. "Open the door, baby. We can fix this." I shook my head violently. Tears spilled down my cheeks. "You're scaring her," his mother called out, voice trembling. "I'm trying to protect her," Jordan replied calmly. "And you." His tone didn't match his words. There was no warmth, no love, just cold control. "Open the door, Janelle," he repeated. "You know I won't hurt you." Another lie wrapped in silk. My breath shook. Mrs. Carter whispered, "If you open that door, you'll never close it again." Jordan knocked harder now. "You're making me worry," he said. "Let me in." Something inside me snapped. "No." I cried out before I could stop myself. Silence. A heavy silence so thick I felt it in my bones. Then he spoke again. Soft, quiet. Something deadly under the surface. "Janelle," he said, "if you don't open this door right now." The pause was long. Calculating. "I'm coming in." My blood ran ice cold. Mrs. Carter dragged me back from the door. His voice changed barely, but enough to feel the shift in the air. 3 seconds, he said softly. She gasped. "No, Jordan, don't." 2. I grabbed her hand, shaking violently. 1. And then, a sudden violent crash. As the door frame began to crack, Mrs. Carter screamed. I grabbed her arm. And we ran. The moment the door frame splintered, instinct took over. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just ran. Mrs. Carter stumbled beside me, gripping my hand so tightly it burned. Behind us, wood cracked again, louder this time, followed by Jordan's low, steady voice pushing through the chaos. "Janelle, stop running." We didn't look back. We sprinted down the hallway toward the fire escape, my heartbeat pounding so loudly it drowned out everything except the shuddering crash as the apartment door finally gave way. He was inside. We were out of time. Mrs. Carter pushed open the fire escape door, but it stuck halfway, rusted from years of neglect. She shoved harder, panicking. "Hurry," I whispered, fumbling with the handle, pulling with everything in me. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Slow, steady, unhurried. He wasn't running. That terrified me more than anything. The door finally jerked open and we stumbled onto the metal stairs, the icy morning air slapping my face. We descended 2 steps at a time, gripping the railing so tightly my knuckles ached. Behind us, the hallway door swung open. Jordan stepped out onto the landing. Still calm. Still composed. Still watching us. "Why are you making this harder than it has to be?" he asked softly, almost disappointed. "We could have talked. We could have fixed this." Mrs. Carter grabbed my arm. "Keep going. Don't stop." We practically flew down the last flight, boots clanging on the metal, breath turning to clouds in the freezing air. Jordan didn't chase. Not yet. He just stood there, head tilted, expression unreadable. Then he smiled. A small, chilling smile. And began walking down after us. Slow. Measured. Controlled. Mrs. Carter yanked me toward her car parked across the lot. "Keys," she whispered, voice tight with terror. "Keys, keys, keys." She fumbled in her pocket, shaking too hard to grip them. I grabbed them from her trembling hand and sprinted ahead, unlocking the doors. We dove inside and I slammed the locks down. Mrs. Carter grabbed the wheel. "Seat belt." I clicked mine just as she started the engine. Her hands shook violently on the steering wheel, but she reversed so fast the tires screeched. I looked toward the building. Jordan stepped out the fire escape door, hands in his pockets. Calm. Breathing evenly. Watching us. He didn't yell. He didn't chase. He didn't break into a run. He just stood there, staring at the car with an expression so unnervingly peaceful that a chill crept beneath my skin. Mrs. Carter backed out of the parking space. I kept my eyes locked on him through the rear window. His lips moved. I couldn't hear him, but I could read the shape of the words. "Don't go." My chest tightened painfully. Then, as we turned onto the main road, something in him shifted. His posture straightened. His shoulders pulled back. His head lifted. The calm disappeared. And what took its place was something cold, calculating, determined, like a decision had been made. We sped onto the road, and Mrs. Carter kept her foot on the gas, like stopping even once would cost us our lives. I wiped tears from my cheeks, my hands trembling uncontrollably. "Where are we going?" "Anywhere but here," she breathed, her voice cracking. "We'll get on the highway. Put distance between us." Her hands shook harder, so I reached over and steadied the wheel for a moment. "Are you okay?" I asked, though it felt like a ridiculous question. "No," she whispered. "But you will be." We drove in trembling silence until we reached the edge of town. Street lamps flickered out behind us as the sun began pushing light across the horizon. Every few minutes she checked the rearview mirror. Every time I checked too. Every time we were sure we'd see him. We didn't. And somehow that scared me more. The road stretched empty for miles, early morning fog hugging the edges. Mrs. Carter's breaths were uneven, hitching every so often like she was trying to swallow panic. I placed a hand on her arm. "Thank you for warning me." Tears filled her eyes instantly. "I didn't do it soon enough," she whispered. "I should have come earlier. I should have told you everything months ago." "You told me what you could," I said softly. "No," she said, wiping her face. "I told you what I could live with." I looked at her. "What does that mean?" She hesitated. The silence filled with something heavy. "His father wasn't the first man Jordan hurt," she whispered. "And he wasn't the last." My breath froze. "What do you mean?" She kept her eyes on the road. "The other girls, the ones who came before you, they didn't just leave. They disappeared from his life completely. Phones off. Houses emptied. No forwarding address." "Are you saying he—" "No," she interrupted. "He didn't kill them. He didn't hurt them physically. But he found them. Every time. And when he did—" She exhaled shakily. "They came back. They stayed. Until the next time they ran." My blood went cold. "He always gets them back," she whispered. "Always." A trembling dread curled inside me. Did he ever hurt them? She didn't answer immediately. "I don't know," she finally said. "But I know what he did to himself." I turned to her, startled. "What?" "Jordan punishes himself when he feels abandoned," she said. "Cuts off everyone. Stops eating. Stops sleeping. He spirals. He breaks things. He breaks himself." I stared at her. "He doesn't hurt people because he's cruel," she whispered. "He hurts because he can't control the fear. He never learned how." I rested my head against the window, my breathing uneven. My chest ached, not just from fear but from heartbreak. I did love him. And part of me, a small stubborn part, still wanted to believe he could be saved. As if reading my thoughts, she said softly, "You can't fix him, Janelle." I nodded weakly. "I know." "No," she said gently. "You don't." Her voice broke. "If love could heal him, I would have done it years ago." The car fell silent again as the road stretched before us. Her phone buzzed. She flinched so hard she nearly swerved. My heart jumped into my throat. "It's okay," I whispered. "It's probably—" She turned the screen toward me with shaking hands. "A text message. From Jordan. Did you really think I wouldn't find you?" My blood turned to ice. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "No, no, no, no." Another text came through. "Don't panic. Just come home. We can talk." "I'm not angry. I'm disappointed." "You're scaring me, Janelle." "You're making this worse." "Please don't make me come get you." A sob tore out of my chest. How did he know where we went?" "We didn't tell anyone." "He doesn't need to know where you're going," she whispered. "He just needs to know you will run." And then, her phone buzzed again. This time her face drained of all color. "What?" I whispered. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward me again. It was a photo. Taken seconds ago. Jordan standing beside the fire escape. But this time, he wasn't alone. He had my purse in his hand. My ID. My debit card. My address. And he was smiling. Not a sweet smile. Not a hopeful one. A promise. I stared at the picture, my heart collapsing inside my chest. He hadn't just broken into the apartment. He'd gone through everything. Every drawer. Every bag. Every piece of my life. And then, a final message came through. "You forgot something." I stared at the screen. And screamed. I screamed. Mrs. Carter grabbed my arm. "Drive faster. Faster." But we were already flying down the highway, the tires humming across asphalt as the sun finally crept over the horizon. I couldn't stop staring at the picture Jordan sent. My purse in his hand. His smile too calm. Too knowing. "He's playing with us," I whispered, my throat tight. "He wants us scared. He wants control," she said. This is what he does when he feels it slipping." Her voice cracked with decades of buried fear. The phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to breathe. But my hands moved anyway. It was a video. Shaking, I pressed play. The camera panned slowly across my apartment. The couch. The pantry door. The hallway. Then the camera turned. And Jordan's face filled the screen. Calm. Collected. Emotionless. "Janelle," he said softly, "I told you I'd give you time." His smile sharpened. "But time doesn't mean distance." The screen went black. My stomach dropped. "He's coming after us," I whispered. "No," Mrs. Carter said, voice trembling but firm. "Not if we stop running." I turned to her, confused. "Stop running? That's suicide." "No," she shook her head, tears brimming. "Running keeps us reactive. Running keeps us predictable. That's what he wants." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "We're going to the police." I froze. "Your son. You're turning him in." She closed her eyes, exhaling a tremor. "I should have done it years ago." We took the next exit. She drove straight to the police station. The small one at the edge of town where the officers actually noticed when someone walked in at 6:42 in the morning, pale and shaking. We stumbled inside. The officer behind the desk looked up immediately. "Can I help you?" Mrs. Carter stepped forward. "Yes," she said, voice steadying. "You need to issue an emergency protective order for my future daughter-in-law." The officer nodded slowly. "And against whom?" He swallowed. "My son." Everything stopped. The officer straightened instantly. "Is he violent?" "He is escalating," she said. "He broke into the apartment. He threatened us. He's stalking her. He's dangerous." I handed over my phone with trembling fingers. The officer looked through the texts. The picture. The video. His jaw tightened. "We need to get you two into a safe room." He stood. "This is enough to open a case." My knees almost buckled. "Case. Investigation. Protection." For the first time in hours, I felt a flicker of hope. They led us into a secure interview room. It was small, cold, but safe. Two detectives entered. One spoke softly. "We've sent a patrol to your apartment. We're tracking his plates. And we've flagged his phone. If he comes within a mile of this station, we'll know." I nodded, my breath shaky. The other detective leaned forward. "Do you want to press charges?" I hesitated. Everything inside me twisted. Did I love him? Yes. Did I fear him? God, yes. But love had become a cage. And fear had become the lock. I wiped my tears. "Yes," I whispered. "I want to press charges." The detective nodded and began writing. Mrs. Carter placed a shaking hand over mine. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "You're breaking the cycle." The door opened again. Another officer stepped inside. "We found his car." My heart stopped. "Where?" I whispered. The officer hesitated. 2 blocks from here." My breath caught. "He's on foot," Mrs. Carter said quietly, gripping my hand. The officer nodded. "Yes. And based on the security cameras, he's walking toward the station." Cold dread crept up my spine. "But don't panic," the officer added quickly. "We have units surrounding the area. He won't get inside." I exhaled shakily, burying my face in my hands. This was happening. This was real. We weren't imagining the danger. The cops saw it too. Minutes passed. Slow. Tense. Then a loud buzz rang through the intercom. "Detective Morris, we've detained the suspect." My heart slammed against my ribs. Detained. He was caught. He wasn't coming. The detective stood. "We'll need statements from you both. Then we'll discuss next steps. But you're safe now." Safe. The word felt unreal. Fragile. Delicate. Like it might break if I breathed too hard. 2 hours later, after paperwork and statements and a protective order that required 3 signatures and a supervisor, the detective returned. "Jordan will be held until his arraignment," he said. "You're not to contact him. Block his number. If he reaches out through another phone, call us immediately." I nodded. "He won't be released today," the detective added. "Take this time to gather your belongings. Stay with family. And don't go anywhere alone." Mrs. Carter exhaled a trembling breath, relief collapsing her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. We walked out of the station together, blinking into the morning sunlight. For the first time, the world didn't feel like it belonged to him. I looked at Mrs. Carter. "What now?" I asked softly. He squeezed my hand. Now we heal. I nodded. And Janelle? She added, voice gentle. Yes. She looked me in the eyes. Tired, worn, but finally free. You survived him. A single tear slipped down my cheek. We survived him, I whispered. We got into her car. She turned the key. The engine hummed softly. The world felt big again. White. Full of possibility. As we pulled out of the parking lot, my phone buzzed. My entire body tensed. But it wasn't him. It was the detective. Single text. He won't be getting out anytime soon. My breath released. The nightmare wasn't over. But the door had closed. And for the first time since 2:17 a.m., I wasn't afraid to breathe. But if there's one thing I've learned, monsters don't disappear just because someone locks a door behind them. They wait. They think. They plan. So now I'm asking you, the one listening to this, what would you have done? Would you have run sooner? Stayed longer? Ignored the red flags? Or believed the man you loved? Because sometimes survival isn't about strength. It's about timing. About choosing the moment you finally say, enough. And I said it just in time. At least, I hope I did.